Well, hello, and welcome to another Child Reviews live stream. This one is basically MPG for life. Hello, Captain. Oh, Captain is in the house. What more can you want? And if you all subscribe to the Peach and Black podcast, which I'm sure you all do, you will know that Captain had quite an adventure with the NPG. He's warmed them up for all the people in London. So the people in London are going to benefit greatly from Captain Say's influence and seeing some of the pictures of the NPG. Oh, it looks like such a great time. I mean, the Peach and Black podcast have got some stories to tell. I mean, how many people can say, yeah, we've had the NPG in our car? I mean, we gave them the lift. I mean, they were hanging about with them, you know, backstage, on the stage, Captain apparently shouting out, you know, cues and prompts. It was just, it was crazy. Oh, and it's going to be out this weekend. Fantastic. Oh, that's made my weekend, actually. I'm actually quite happy with that. Oh, I'm going away for a couple of days a weekend, and that is going to make my weekend. I love listening to the Peach and Black podcast. Whenever I go on a train, I have to listen to the Peach and Black podcast. It is quite bizarre, but that is going to be quite an adventure. I've got to say that the experiences that the Peach and Black podcast have had, it sounds like an adventure from the album Exodus almost. You know, it sounds that kind of crazy thing that you would never believe had you not seen it and seen pictures of it. It is going to be crazy. They were just so awesome, and they seem, obviously Peach and Black are fantastic guys, and the NPG seem, you know, fantastic guys too, and to have that adventure is fantastic. When we saw them in London in a small club, they were so approachable, and you could talk to them and you could chat to them, and it was just amazing to see these guys, these incredibly talented guys. And but yeah, if you listen to Exodus and you've listened to like the Mashed Potato Girl or the Adventures of the MPG, then you'll know that that's pretty much what's going to happen with the Peach and Black podcast. And as I say, it's just, you know, they have set the gold standard for podcasting ever since the beginning, and they've been going for over 10 years now. And I was actually a bit jealous the other day because I talked to somebody and they had just discovered the Peach and Black podcast. And they didn't know about them, and they just listened to a couple of shows, and they loved it. And I felt a bit jealous because they had like 10 years of shows to go back on. You know, like when someone gets into Prince and they listen to a couple of albums, and you're like, oh, you've got such a journey ahead of you. You don't even know. So I was a little bit jealous, but you know, that is an amazing journey to have, and they keep getting better and better. And obviously their version is growing. And let's just say their commentary, the last thing I'll say, I promise, on the Peach and Black, their commentary on the Sun of the Times Deluxe just made it for me. It was just absolutely superb. It really was. It cracked me up. I kept rewinding bits. I mean, it was like an hour and a half concert, and it took me about 2 hours. It's just insane. Anyway, okay, right. There's a few things we're going to talk about today. There's certainly we're going to be giving away some books, which is good. I think that's always a good thing. So obviously we'll do the draw in a little bit, but basically we have 5 books we're going to be giving away. I've asked people to put their name underneath a YouTube video, and the closing date was Sunday, and then they can choose one of the 5 books. We've got the amazing Prince and Little Weird Black Boy Gods by the amazing Scott Woods, fantastic author. He really is. If you've ever checked out his website or seen it on Twitter, he is just an amazing guy. And there's so much humor in this, and there's so much intelligence in this, and it's just, you know, a truly fantastic book. I love this book, and it's really out there. You've got lists of 50 sort of, you know, what Prince and Michael Jackson. You've got a list of things Prince, I'm reasonably sure, hasn't ever done, the things you wouldn't imagine Prince would be doing. But also, he goes deep into a number of different issues regarding race, regarding, you know, sort of the ownership of music. This is a fantastic read, and I really hope this book gets a lot more recognition. I must admit, of all the people underneath the line talking about which book they'd like, this has come out very, very highly, and I think it's the most popular choice so far. Second of all, we have Picturing Prince with the amazing Steve Park. I mean, some of these pictures, I'm sure you've all seen them, but they are remarkable, and truly, you know, remarkable pictures. He is just, you know, one of the greatest photographers, and one of my personal favorites. I'm slightly biased because I just love this song so much. But it's just an amazing, truly amazing picture there of Prince, and the greatest romance ever sold era. Just fantastic. So I can't recommend that enough. This is a monster book as well. Dwayne Tudao. I mean, this is insane. This really is. This is the Purple Rain era studio sessions. And I mean, look how thick this book is. This is detail. I mean, this really is detail. I think there's about, it's got to be about 500 pages. I mean, it's 500 pages. And this is forensic detail. Dwayne goes into every session, what Prince recorded with the Revolution, what he worked on, reworked on, how he put these, sort of songs together. But I mean, it's amazing. It's literally, he did the overdubs day, he did the extra vocals this day, he did the sort of drums and reworked them this day. I mean, how Dwayne found this all out is insane. I would love him to do a book on every era like this. I mean, the amount of work he must have put into this is insane. You will not find anything with more detail than this. This is just the place to go for the Purple Rain era studio sessions. This is just absolutely fantastic. And we've got Prince, Stories from the Purple Underground by Mobeen Azhar. Now, I've got to say, the thing about this is it's actually been re-released recently as exactly the same book, but it's called Chapter and Verse. So there are two different books, although they are identical. They are basically exactly the same. I think it's just the title that has changed, but even so, it is just an amazing book. And I think the good thing about this book is not only have you got some amazing pictures of Prince, but you've also got the stories that go along with them. And I think the stories are from people who work with Prince, people who recorded with Prince. There's so many people who basically were involved intimately with Prince. I mean, all these stories come from people who were around at the time, who really understood Prince. And I think this is the key thing. You've got Michael B, Alan Leeds, Susan Rogers. You've got basically everybody you want to know. Gail Chapman, you name it, you've got them there. So I mean, this is one definitely worth having. And finally, last but by no means least, Prince, Before the Rain. Now, wow, I mean, what an amazing time Alan Bolio had with Prince. I mean, right from the beginning, there's a lot of pictures here which you don't tend to see, quite sort of rare pictures. And Alan obviously was very much involved at the time of the Rolling Stones gigs. So he's got lots of pictures here of the of the Rolling Stones gig and what happened with that and all the things that occurred then. There's also a great document of the kind of 1999 period as well. You've got pictures also of the amazing Second Coming, which we hopefully will see more of one day. So we've got those books to give away very shortly, and I'm going to draw them out of the famous Nightchild hat, which I suppose hasn't been used for a while, the blue hat. So I'm going to use that again, just to draw out those 5 names, and I'll be contacting those people very shortly. So I'll do that in just a moment. I also want to talk briefly about Morris Day's book, because this week Morris Day's book came out. I listened to it on Audible, but it is obviously on in print form too, and it's called On Time: A Princely Life in Funk. And it's interesting what Morris has done, because on the Audible book he doesn't narrate it himself, but the great thing about I think that is that Ron, who I've temporarily forgotten his second name, which isn't good, but Ron, basically, who narrates it, does a fantastic job. What he does is you have the voice of Morris Day, you've then got the voice of Prince kind of interjecting at times and saying, hey, that's not how it happened, or come on Morris, get to the point, or people don't want to hear about you, they want to hear about me. And it's funny how Ron Butler, how Ron Butler kind of does that with the voices, and it's brilliant how Morris is telling his story, but Prince keeps interjecting. There's also another character in the book, the MD character, which is kind of Morris's on-stage persona, if you like, and having these 3 voices are brilliant. I was a bit concerned when I first saw this idea, and I thought, he's using Prince's voice, putting words into his mouth. But he actually addresses that, and Prince is like, I don't like this. You're putting words into my mouth. You can make me say anything. And Morris is like, no, I'm telling the truth. I'm telling what happened. And I think Morris is incredibly open in his book. He talks about his battles with drug addiction. He talks about his marriages. He talks about the effect that his character really had on these marriages, and how some of these marriages, really struggled, and he had a lot of pride and problems in his life, but also how he respected Prince so much, and they grew up together. They were so close together. But the love he clearly has for him is amazing. I think some press have used salacious quotes out of context somewhat to kind of push the book, but actually it's incredibly respectful of Prince. It talks very openly about that. I think he focuses a part of the book on Prince during the rave unto the year 2000 era, and that's very interesting. He talks about how Prince was obviously becoming a Jehovah's Witness at that time. He was very religious, and he was telling Morris about the truth and how important the truth was, and there was one truth. And that was really interesting, how Prince's religion sort of made Morris feel uncomfortable. He felt there were different ways to God and various things. But it was interesting, that experience. It is interesting the time they didn't speak for a while. They just and the times when it came together and Morris was out of pocket because Prince had cancelled his idea or decided to do something else. And at one point, Morris has to pay $5,000 in kind of travel expenses. And there was they were like brothers, and like brothers, you have these moments where you don't always get on. But Morris was very patient, and I think it was quite strange, because on one hand, Morris always told Prince what he thought. He told him the truth. He told him how he felt. But on the other hand, I would also say that Morris was quite good at sometimes at keeping quiet when he knew he wasn't going to win, when he knew that there was a time to be quiet. And I think he talked about when Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam got fired, and he talked about various times when he knew to sort of keep that quiet. I think Purple Love, hello. I think Purple Love points out that you could tell Morris loves Prince, and they cried at the end. And I have to say that the final meeting, I won't spoil it for everybody, but the final meeting between those two, I mean, obviously they didn't know it was going to be the final meeting, was really quite emotional. And in some ways, from what Morris says, very unlike Prince. They said Prince wasn't particularly a hugger. He didn't particularly hug people all the time. He was very emotionally open to Morris with their last meeting, and they were talking about going on tour together, about doing things together. And I think that that was a really interesting time, and I think that's really interesting how they clearly loved each other and cared about each other and saw something in each other. And Morris, his humor in this book is fantastic. He is incredibly funny. He swears like you wouldn't believe. I mean, he swears and swears and swears, but it's very authentic. And he clearly has so much respect for Prince as a genius. Although he sees, he said Prince was a narcissist, in the sense that he said Morris was a narcissist, in the sense that they all had their flaws. They were all human. And I think his book, Morris Day's book, and Maite's book, which I've also read recently, really humanized Prince. And for a long time, I must admit, I didn't always get a hold of Prince the person. I mean, no one truly does. Everybody has their own experience who knew him personally about him. But I really think that these books helped to humanize him and make him realize he was a person who deals with all the stuff we all deal with, plus being a genius, plus touring, plus dealing with lots of people in the band, plus dealing with lots of musical projects, having lots of ideas, business. There's so much there, and I think it's an amazing book, the Morris Day book. And he's got a new single out, Lil Mo Funk, with Snoop Dogg. So he's got that out too. So he's having a bit of a resurgence, and obviously, he's still Morris Day, and he's been through hard times, and he's been times when he's not had money. There's been times when his addiction wasn't good, and I think that's something he's very open about, and I really appreciate that. Also, I want to quickly mention, while I can, there is an event for those of you who are either in London or who can get to London, which is obviously another thing. There is an event at the Earth Theatre, Hackney in London, where they're going to be launching, or it's part of the book launch of The Beautiful Ones, obviously the Prince book, which is coming out, and the author Dan Pippenbring will be there, who obviously sort of edited The Beautiful One's work with Prince, and he's put an article out there in the New Yorker, I think it was, and it's going to be an amazing event. It's going to be there's still a lot of mystery about this event, because although the author's going to be there and he's going to be talking about the book, they're talking about there's going to be a collection of poets, performers, writers, musicians, and artists all performing at the theatre. So we don't know quite what to expect. It's as I said, on Monday, November the 4th, 2019, in London, and it's called the Earth Theatre in Hackney. What I'll do is I'll put a link under this, and I think that will be something that would just be an amazing event to see. I think that this will be quite an interesting thing to hear from the author, to hear his experiences of working with Prince. And Prince in this book really surprised me, because from what I've heard already, I have to be, I'm quite cynical, I expected it almost to be like a 21 Nights kind of poetry, a book like that, but it's not like that. This is a book where Prince seems to be very open about his past, about his father, about certain aspects of race, and Prince's ideas around race and his identity. And I think this is going to be a book that really sort of drops a few bombshells. And I think the other thing to say is that it's such a shame to me personally that he didn't complete it, because they were talking about him going up to the 2007 sort of 6 era. So we're talking about basically stopping at the Super Bowl kind of time. And that would have been amazing. Imagine where Prince came from, relatively poor background, the troubles he had, the home situation he had, to then get into the point where he performs in front of 200+ million people at the Super Bowl, the greatest, Super Bowl performance of all time. That would have been an amazing thing for him to sit back at that point and reflect and think, I've come from the situation I've come from, I've worked hard, I've done incredibly well, and I've got to this Super Bowl experience. And I would love to have heard his experiences of that. It's not known exactly how far Prince got. There's rumors that it might be sort of Purple Rain era again. We're not sure. They said he wrote about 50 pages, but we don't know if that was strictly chronologically or not. I would have to say Casey Rain from The Violet Reality has a copy, has read the copy, but is under embargo, I think, at the moment. But I think he will certainly be very close to being one of the first people to talk about the book. And I think, it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out from this book. And it's going to be very interesting to see how much is in Prince's own words and how much is in Dan Pippenbring's words, and how that's all put together. But I think this is going to be quite a shocking book, in a sense of this is going to be quite an open, honest account of Prince's life. And I was quite surprised, I really was, by some of the quotes Dan talked about. And so it'll be very interesting to see that. I think, I would love to know what, that's a really good question by Kanin, who said he always wondered what Prince thought his biggest accomplishment was. I don't know. I mean, it's impossible for anyone to say. I think the Super Bowl was huge, Purple Rain was huge, but then their sales, that may not be the thing he was most proud of. The thing he might be proud of could be something else. It could be the money he raised for charity. It could be the other artists he worked alongside. It could be creating a Minneapolis sound. It could be Paisley Park. It could be anything, and we just don't know. And there's so many things he did, and that's going to be fascinating to see. It really, really is. So anyway, if you get a chance to go to that, November the 4th in London, I'm going to be there. Hey, Mr. Ants is going to be there. I think even Mr. Purple Music is going to be there. There's going to be a few people there. Casey Rain is going to be there. So I mean, if nothing else, come say hi to us. But I think it's going to be interesting because, as I said, a lot hasn't been revealed about this event yet. It's organised by Penguin Live, and obviously alongside the author, there's going to be a whole night of musical events. And if you buy a ticket, every ticket or pair of tickets for this event, you get a copy of the book with it. So, I mean, from what I remember, don't quote me, but I think the tickets were like £25-30, and you get a copy of the book with it. So that's really, an amazing thing. So that's cool. Mr. Purple Police, yes, that is a nice hat. I made a pledge about 2 or 3 years ago to get Mr. Purple Police a hat like this, and I have failed miserably. I tried to get one everywhere I go. I keep looking for one and I can't find another one anywhere. So if anyone knows, give us a shout out. I've also got to say, we've got another book, November, I think it's the 19th. Randy St. Nicholas, who was a printer photographer for quite a while, and I really admire her work. In the early 90s, I think are synonymous with a lot of her images. You think of Insatiable, in which she appeared, but also just that era, that kind of early era. And I think of Diamonds and Pearls, and you think of lots of work she did. And Randy St. Nicholas is a fantastic photographer, and her book is coming out November the 19th. I think that's the earliest I've seen it, and that really looks intriguing. There's been a few pictures, and she's also given an interview recently talking about working with Prince and how, he's the only person who could fly into a town, no advance notice, say, I'm giving a concert tonight. The concert would sell out instantly with no word of mouth. People would just find out instantly, but it would be no promotion or traditional promotion. And she said Prince was one of those people that flew by the seat of his pants in the sense of he wanted to do things now, and they tended to work out, but he would be on you if they didn't. And there's a beautiful picture she took of him wearing a red suit, and it's at 2 a.m. in the morning, and Prince looked amazing at 2 a.m. in the morning. I don't know how he looked that great at that time in the morning, but it really is amazing. And I'm really looking forward to the Randy St. Nicholas book. I think originally it was quite expensive, but it seems to come down as the times got closer. It's going to be really interesting to see her experience, because I haven't heard a great deal from her. And I think she's got a lot of stories to tell. I think she is someone who she talked about how Prince never played a note he didn't want to play, how he lived his life entirely on his own terms. And I think that's a really important thing, that Prince saw his whole life as an art. It wasn't like he's not being Prince anymore, like he's done his 9 to 5 of being Prince and now he's just resting. Prince didn't do that. He was on 24/7, 365 days a year. Prince was never not Prince. And at 2 or 3 in the morning, as Maite called it, those creative hours, he never stopped being Prince. So it's amazing. As Artful said that Prince didn't do mornings. That's pretty true. Randy St. Nicholas stated that if you got a phone call at 9 o'clock in the morning, you knew Prince had been up all night, because he wasn't usually up at that time. So he'd probably been up all night. And there was one quote where he called Randy St. Nicholas at 9 o'clock in the morning. He'd been up all night, and he said, "Can you imagine, Randy, if you and I were taller, we would just take over the world, wouldn't we?" And it was just such a surreal thing. And she said, is this what you want to tell me? And he said, "Yeah, I was just thinking about that." It's just, I don't know what to say. It is just, amazing. Mr. Purple Police, again, I agree, totally. Peach and Black, perfect partner for every Prince album. I've long argued for that. I think you should get a Peach and Black podcast with every album. I think that's the new standard as far as I'm concerned. I've also got to say, in London, December the 5th, going on from the Peach and Black podcast, December the 5th, the NPG are playing at Shepherd's Bush in London. Obviously, I've seen The Revolution. They were there last year. And was it last year or early this year? Time flies. It was last year. But it's remarkable to see the NPG again. It's going to be fantastic, December the 5th. I can't wait for that. The Shepherd's Bush was the second from last place I saw Prince. I saw him there on the Hit and Run tour, and that was the second from last time I saw him. I think I saw him last at Coco's. And that was an amazing venue to sort of see the NPG there close up. And I'm going to be down the front, I'm going to be bobbing my head, and I'm going to be calling the law, and I'm going to be doing all those things. And it's going to be fantastic. And we're just going to hang out and have a great time with some very talented guys. And I love that 90s stuff, which really gets overlooked. And I love the 90s stuff. For me personally, I got into Prince in '89. So the 90s was very much my beginning of Prince. And so I cannot wait. I really cannot wait to do that and to see the NPG again. I love all these bands that go around, and you get to experience them, and the level of musicianship, it's just phenomenal. So I've got to say, I'm really looking forward to that. Can't wait for that. And again, if you can make it to London, if you can get to the Shepherd's Bush, and I think there's probably still tickets available, that would be an amazing thing. I'm really looking forward to that. I also want to give a quick mention to the Sign of the Times set. Now, obviously, recently we had the Sign of the Times Deluxe Blu-ray and DVD version. Now, apparently, because of the demand, they are releasing a smaller version, which is basically, smaller in shape. It's got the DVDs and the Blu-rays, but I think there's a different cover. I think there's a sort of a different thing to post. I don't think know if there's a poster or not, but it's a different package. But basically, it is essentially, you know, the DVD and the Blu-ray of the Sign of the Times and the German release through Turbine. I think it is still the Blu-ray still obviously European region, but they are releasing some more. From what I've heard, that will be in December. So I mean, you know, that's certainly something which is worth checking out, because that is really been in great demand. I feel it's a bit of a shame, really, for me, that the estate don't reach out to Turbine Media, who brought out this Sign of the Times package, because obviously Turbine acquired the rights. The rights have been sold off to various different companies across different jurisdictions, and I just wish the estate would reach out and say, do you know what, this is popular, people love it, it's sold out the first 5,000, it's something that's incredibly well done. You know, you've got so many people involved. You've got Dr. Funkenbury, you've got Edgar Cruz, you've got the Peach and Black podcast, you've got Kat Glower talks about it, Dr. Fink, Levi, you've got, you know, Susan Rogers, you know, you've got Leroy Bennett. There's so many things. And that really is something that you know, I'm really looking forward to getting that out there. And I wish the estate would approach Turbine and produce some more. But as I say, a smaller package is going to be available. I think December 13th, I think it is. And that's going to contain the Sign of the Times, a smaller set for the Sign of the Times, some more copies. But I really wish the estate would reach out and just do a deal, because these things are always about money. So the estate has money. This is something that's popular. I think it should just reach out and say, look, you've made the product. Let's just do a deal. Let's just get it out there. I want Americans to have this. I want it to be in a region everybody can play, wherever they live. And I think Americans, I feel a bit bad because America missed out on the Sign of the Times tour. And now, to an extent, they missed out on the Sign of the Times package. Now, obviously, the DVD can play, I think that's region free, so that can be played anywhere across the world. That's fine, but it's the Blu-ray that's region limited. But to be honest, it's worth having anyway for the DVD, because you've got the DVD, you've got a booklet, you've got all these other things. But if the estate could reach out, I would be very, very happy. I've got to say, another thing I was going to mention, I'm glad Michelle brought it up, is that today, Maite Garcia has started, well, she's not restarted, she's restarted or relaunched, I suppose would be the best word, the Love4Oneanother Charity. Now, I was looking at this just a little moment ago. Basically, she's put together this charity, which she had before. Which, first of all, I should say who the charity is made up of. Obviously, it's Maite Garcia, as we all know, Tyka Nelson, who obviously is Prince's sister, Kirk Johnson, who obviously everybody knows, and also I think it's Janice Garcia. Now, the charity is talking very much about providing, basically, of kind of putting the A into STEM projects. Now, STEM, obviously, science, technology, you know, engineering, maths. They want to put the arts back into it, and they want to provide grants to ensure that music programs don't get shut down, that kids and parents and educators have access to workshops and programs. They want to engage people into music, that will supply musical instruments, art supplies, and various other resources. They want to tap into kids' creative potential and things like that. And I think that's you know, really quite an interesting thing. They launched it today because today was the day that Amir, their son, was born, and it's you know, obviously a difficult thing for Maite, and she talked very openly about it in an interview recently, talking about how, you know, that loss still affects her and affects many other men and women, and it's something, this charity, that really helps her and helps everyone to sort of do something positive and to remember Amir, but also to provide for the next generation of music. I actually want to talk about Maite a little bit because it's incredibly divisive. I don't know if Artful's off. I hope not. I'm sorry, Artful. I just want to say Maite is an incredibly, I don't know why, but she's a very divisive person in a sense. It's quite interesting because I haven't listened to Muse to the Pharaoh yet. Muse to the Pharaoh podcast has just done a podcast just now about the role of women in Prince's music. And they've called it Shockadelica, Examining Prejudice Against Women in the Purple World. And I haven't listened to it yet. Now, Muse to the Pharaoh are always challenging. You know, they always make you think. They always, you know, offer a different viewpoint and something that's very, you know, thought-provoking. It'll be very interesting to see what they say. I think that the from the social media I'm on, I would say very few people divide, not divide, perhaps the wrong word, but very few people have, well, I suppose, in a sense, split the Prince camp as much as my take. It's interesting. I've just finished her book. It's quite an emotional book. I mean, obviously, everybody who writes a book writes it from their perspective of what they view, obviously. And they would say, they would talk about how they feel, and they would leave out things they didn't want to talk about. And it's something we learn in, I think, you know, history at school. You know, you don't just take one source, you take as many sources as you can. She's obviously emotionally affected by the loss of their child. She does cry when she's reading the book, because she reads the book, she narrates it herself. And you know, it's quite a difficult read. I've only finished a couple of days ago, and to be honest, it's sinking in. I put off reading it for, well, until about 2 weeks ago. I mean, I hadn't read it, and it's been out for a couple of years, because I didn't feel ready. I don't know if that sounds silly. I didn't feel ready, and I didn't feel able to. But it's quite a difficult read at the moment. I'm still absorbing it and trying to take it in. I'll be very interested in what people think about the book. I know it's been, you know, a couple of years since it came out, but I'm really interested to know what people think about it, because, you know, it's a lot to take in. It's you know, a really, you know, probably the most intimate book I think that's been written. Morris Day's book was intimate, but obviously not to the same extent that somebody who's married to him would be. So that's going to be, you know, that's a very interesting area. And I don't know, there's a lot to take in. I almost feel like I need to listen again to really really understand it. Anyway, I also want to say basically a shout out to Mr. Ant and the Violet Reality. They are doing some great work in the moment. Mr. Ant's done the This Is Prince video, which is fantastic. It's sort of following the journey of Prince throughout his career, and that's been, you know, fantastic success. That's getting lots of views, and that's well deserved. The Violet Reality have also done a controversial video about 5 mistakes they think Prince made in his career. It sounds controversial, but if you listen to it, they treat it obviously, you know, in a quite decent way. So don't worry about that. Anyway, I think it's time for the draw. I think it's definitely time for the draw. So I've got the magic hat here, filled with loads and loads of all the entries. I'm going to pull out 5 winners, and once I pull out the 5 winners, then I'll contact those 5 winners. And you know, you can basically we'll send you the book that you want of the 5 books we've got here. Just a very, very quick reminder: these are the 5 books we've got. There's the book here, Dwayne Tudor, Prince, and the Purple Rain Studio Sessions, which is you know, an amazing book. We've got Picturing Prince there, the Steve Park book, which is, you know, a fantastic book too. Prince and Little Weird Black Boy Gods by Scott Woods. Some collection of his essays there. Prince Before the Rain, Alan Bolio, which is another classic book, and lots of pictures of the 1999 and Rolling Stone era. And finally, Prince Tales from the Purple Underground, which is another beautifully illustrated book by, you know, everybody who's anybody in the Prince world has pretty much pretty much been involved in this. So that's fantastic. So we will draw those out now. The five winners. I shall grab this. This is the Nightchild hat here. I shall look away and we'll pull out 5. So here we go. Here we go. I feel like I need a drum roll here. I really do. Anyway, okay. So the first winner is Mick Ram. That's Mick Ram. M-I-K. Mick Ram. So Mick Ram, I will be contacting you very shortly. You are the first winner. God, this is like being on the lottery. And secondly, right, the second winner is it is Roy Stout. Roy Stout. So I shall be in contact with you very shortly. Roy Stout. Okay, and thirdly, Mega Cologne. So Cologne, you are the third winner, Mega Cologne. So your book will be coming to you very shortly. 2 more to go. Okay. Right, this one is Jose Rodriguez. So that's Jose Rodriguez. You are the 4th winner. And finally, the very last winner. It's a good friend of the channel. I'm quite happy about this. Diana Williams. Diana Williams has oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you, Diana. So those 5 winners, we will contact you very shortly. We've got those 5 winners, and we will be in contact with you shortly for your books, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. They are fantastic books, and whatever one you choose, it's fantastic. You know, they're all brilliant in their own way, and I think every you know, every person here has been, well, we've all effectively had Prince speak to us in some way through his music, through his work. We're all connected in some way, and he's been there through times when we've been happy, when we've been in love, times when we've perhaps been sad, times when we've been heartbroken, times when we've been you know, perhaps seeking looking at spirituality, or just wanting something funky to enjoy and you know, appreciate. So you know, he's always been there. He's always spoken to us and been part of our lives, and that's something that means a lot to all of us. And we're incredibly lucky. Sometimes it's hard to accept that he's not around, but then I do feel lucky that I was around when he was around. If you think of all the time in the world, I was lucky that I happened to sort of collide with this artist when I was still young, and to get to experience him live, but also just to enjoy his music and the fact that it's been created. And you know, I'm very lucky with the timing. So it's very easy to think negatively, think, you know, I wish he was here, and I do wish he was here. But we were lucky to experience what we did, and he gave us so much. And his gifts are still giving, in the sense that the music is still coming out, and obviously the new 1999 release, there'll be even more. And you know, unreleased tracks. We've already had the lyrics to the song Vagina, which apparently is quite an interesting song. So that could be interesting to see. But I think, you know, the amount of unreleased stuff that can still come out, the amount of music videos Prince shot, fully produced music videos, is huge. Prince recorded practically everything, practically every concert, you know, music video, outtakes, everything. So there's so much more that could come out, and we just hope that the estate can do the impossible and just try and do it as much justice as he can. And we want his YouTube presence to grow. They were talking today about the most viewed music videos, and some videos now reaching 1 billion views. And Prince obviously kept his music off YouTube for a long time because he didn't think that the artist was being paid fairly. And that's a very important point. But it's also a big source of revenue for the estate now, because Prince, obviously, his major earning power was as a live performer. He could, you know, earn 2, 3, 5 million a night just by performing. We don't have that revenue stream anymore. So it's important that, you know, not only that, but just getting out on YouTube so people can experience it. Because I talk about how great a Prince concert is, how fantastic a live performer he is. And I want to see those full quality concerts out there. I want people to see it. I want people to see as much as possible. Some of those concerts just got lost in the ether. I mean, you talk about the live experience in 1995. You talk about the Jam of the Year tour. You talk about, tours. I think even Act 1 and Act 2 just get overlooked so much. And the hit and run tours are fantastic. They're all professionally filmed. The quality is amazing. The clips we've seen. And I just think that's, something we really need to rectify. Let's get the live performance there. Let's get Prince's status as a guitarist, as a drummer, as a keyboardist, out there as a singer. The Montreux ones, release them now. That's an instant no-brainer. Tina Palmer states that Prince pulled me back from the brink of killing myself many times. And wow, that's quite a thing. I know another person in the Purple family, I won't name them, but they were saved by Purple Rain. They had a very difficult time, and Prince intervened in their life through that song and changed their life. And he's been there, throughout that time. I walked down the aisle to Prince, and he was the background to every emotion I expressed, and some happy times, amazing times, and some dark times. And I really hope, Tina, that he continues to help, and I think that he's amazing guy. And if you ever need to reach out to someone, reach out to somebody, and talk to somebody. There's always someone there, and I think it's really important to talk to people, because often we're all going through stuff and we don't talk about it, and it's not good. I'm lucky that sometimes you just need a friend who says, I'll listen and I'll be there. So just, if you don't have anybody, I'm here. But obviously, I'm sure there are better people for you, but I'm here too. And I think it's important to talk and to get these things out. It's a particularly difficult time, obviously, after Prince passed, and I think even now it's hard to come to terms with. But we do have his music. We do have so much more to experience. I feel Prince is going to be giving for the next 100 years. There's going to be so much to come out. I just want it all out now because I want to see it. I want to see everything he did, the concerts, the videos, the unreleased outtakes. I mean, the estate are upping their game. The packages are getting better. The 1999 Deluxe looks huge. It's fantastic. We can always want more. We can always want more and more. But clearly things are ramping up. They're getting quicker and quicker, and more releases are coming out. And there are certain albums that perhaps need remastering. Sign of the Times being probably the most obvious. But there's so much you could do about Sign of the Times. I mean, where do you begin? Dream Factory or Camille, kind of, where do you begin? And I think, even the Love Sexy Black album package, if you put those two albums together, that would be fantastic. I mean, that would be brilliant. I would love to see that. And that would be such a great package. You could have the black and the white, the light and the day, the God and the lustful, or whatever. You could have this real amazingly designed. And Love Sexy was such a kind of iconic era in terms of the way it looked. And I have to give a shout out actually to Rocket Pool, a UK shop, and they're actually selling from the original artist. The heart that went on Prince's wrists, and Sheila's I think it was earrings and various things, and actually selling replicas of those, and they look amazing. And I always wanted one as a kid. I always wanted the heart wristband, so maybe I'll treat myself. But Kainin said that I read somewhere today that it would have been, yes, it's true, it would have been Amir's 23rd birthday today. He would have been 23 today, and that's why Maite has relaunched the Love for One Another. I think it's it's 23 years, so that's, I can remember when it happened, and a couple of years, 23 years, but it is 23 years. It's amazing to think that Prince, but Prince was Prince, and there'll never be another one like him. I this sounds bad, but I look around and I think there's no one quite like him. No one with the genius, the power, the talent, the drive, the amount he did in that short time. Quite frankly, people could live to be 150, 200 years and not achieve what he achieved. So although he was with us, what felt like a very brief, he worked constantly. And there's so many things I admire about Prince, and one of them is Paisley Park, in the sense of he put his money where his music was. He didn't spend it on all these flash things. I mean, he liked the odd flash thing too, but he put most of his money into recording, and I think that showed that he was an artist, not just in it for money or fame. This is what he did, and he wanted to make that process quicker so he could record more. And that's something that is such a testament to him. I hope his music does become more popular online and people get to access it, and he deserves to be higher up there. And I know part of this was about artists' rights, and that's incredibly important. And his legacy now is really strong in that field. The amount of artists coming up, Janelle Monáe, Lizzo, there's lots of artists who now say, they understand the importance of owning their work. They understand the importance of controlling their art, of learning from what he did. And I think, if nothing else, he has he's taught musicians to really focus on that aspect, to be smart in your business and to own your work and to make sure that you get the lion's share because you are the creator. And I think even when he talked about ticket sales, I remember Piano and a Microphone, it got up to £5,000 for 2 tickets until Prince cancelled the tour. And that's just, it's wrong. There shouldn't be a situation where the ticket company makes more money from the show than the artist. The artist and the people who put it on, the production company and people who make the stage and work on them, they are all the people who really put so much into it, and the artist should always receive the lion's share. But it shouldn't be ticket companies or anything like that. So hopefully, people will listen to that. I also just want to say a huge thank you to everybody for popping in tonight. I hope I didn't offend anybody. I just talked about My Taste Charity because it was something she just launched now, and it's sort of I hope I didn't offend anybody. I certainly didn't mean to. So if you get a chance, check out all the great Prince channels at the moment. There's so many. You've got everybody. You've got Prince's Friend. You've got Violet Reality. You've got Mr. Ants. You've got obviously Music the Pharaoh. You name it. There's so many out there that have things to say, and it's really interesting. I mean, there's about another 10 I haven't even started to mention, but there's just so many great people that do amazing work, and I just want to thank you for allowing me to do what I do. I'm going to take a couple of weeks off just because I need to. I feel a little bit run down, not too great, and I sometimes with my condition, I kind of have my autism. I have to sort of manage myself a bit, and I want to take a couple of weeks off. And I think also I don't want you to all get completely sick of me. So I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, but support all those channels. They're doing great work. They really are. They're trying to help Prince's legacy. And if you could just give them a comment or something on their channel, it's so appreciated. I can certainly say when I get them, it really means the world to me. And I'm going to try and catch up with all those. I'm behind on my comments, I realise. But I support those channels because they are doing such amazing work. And it's Purple Rain said apparently showing tonight in Hollywood with Morris doing a question and answer afterwards. So if you're in Hollywood, well, A, you're very lucky. You're in Hollywood. I mean, wow. Showing Purple Rain and Morris doing a question and answer afterwards. That would be very interesting. I'd love to see a question and answer with Morris. I wonder if some stuff will come out then with question and answer, because people are going to ask him, obviously, things that perhaps he didn't touch on in his book. About Morris's book, there's some areas you think, I wish you'd have talked more about that, or I wish you'd have gone into a bit more depth about that. So it's interesting that Morris kept away from some aspects of Prince's life, certainly his personal life to a large extent. But I always think Morris's book could have even been longer. It was one of those things you listen to and you almost go through it in a day. So that's something that'll be very interesting to see what Morris does. And Morris is still out there, being funky and doing what he did. And he's come to terms, he said, with his on-stage and off-stage persona, realizing that he couldn't be Morris Day off-stage. He should just keep that on-stage because that's where it belonged and that's where it's better for his life. And so that's interesting. Also, I heard somebody today talk about Jerome Benton saying he was working at an airline. I don't know if that's true. I've heard that before, but hopefully Jerome is doing well. And I always liked Jerome. Jerome seemed like a really funny guy and a kind of a nice guy. So that's certainly hopefully he's okay, and we wish him well. But anyway, I'll take a couple of weeks off, and just want you to support every printer channel you can. They're doing great work, and thank you for letting me do what I do. And hopefully I didn't bother anybody tonight. And I'll get those books. I'll contact those lucky winners in the next day or so, and get them their books. So thank you for doing this tonight. I appreciate that, and I will see you in a few weeks.